What's good, guys? It's Ilsun 4K, and as you can see, it's another episode of Everything Under the Sun podcast, a podcast where we cover everything from video games to horror movies to comic book movies and all sorts of geek information in between. That's right, geek podcast, Everything Under the Sun. I'm Ilsun 4K. The Brandon joke has now been tied together. Welcome to the podcast. This is our second one. If you're new to this, like I said, I covered everything we covered before. If this is your second time here, or maybe you saw my infamous stream starting soon podcast when I didn't know what to call this thing. Either way, welcome to the podcast. I'm ready to go. I've got my pen. I've got my phone, just in case I need to check any facts. Got a beverage down here, and we're ready to rock. So we're going to get into this. Let's talk video game news right now. Let's see what's going on. What's going on today? All right, last week, if you're listening to it this week, the Mario 64 that I talked about, the sealed WATA version that sold for $1.5 million, had a similar version sell at an auction house that had nothing to do with co-conspirators or false bids or shill bids or anything, sold for $799,000. That's right. Like 100, what is that? Like 100 grand under? No, not 100 grand, I'm sorry. It's about, 100 grand under. It's fucking $1,000 away from 8K. So let's look at it like this. That game for $800,000 is a little more than half of what the last game just sold, right? Which is still ludicrous because there's no reason for a game that was commonly produced as Mario 64, sealed, even sealed WATA graded or whatever graded, there's no reason for that to actually have to cost over $500,000. I'm sorry, it's not that rare. The item came out in 1996. Even if you want to get picky about it and say, well, there was the player's choice version after it sold 1 million copies, that doesn't fucking matter. If it sold more than 1 million copies out there, that means there's 1 million copies of it, which means sealed variations of it, while not exactly common and will always be pretty rare, will never be $800,000 rare. But that's just my opinion. And that's what happens when you have people who get involved in something for the money, not for the love. Because let's keep it real. Sealed game collectors, as has been stated 1,000 times for anybody who's been following this, are a different breed. They're a different type of person, the way they work. They are a collector in the sense of the rarity and all that stuff, and that's fine. But what's not fine is when people who, for example, own auction house and grading companies happen to be involved in the sale of a video game that costs more than anything in the world, and it was sold by said auction house and said grading company that the two owners of the game owned. It doesn't make any sense, and I'm really glad it's coming out. And speaking of which, Carl Jobst is going to have a follow-up video coming out talking about all this stuff, because ever since this came out, he's had to kind of keep quiet because there's been a lawsuit, and he's now going to have lawyers come on and talk about what could happen to these people legally if they get caught. So it's rather interesting to see just where it's going and how far out of control it's really gotten. All over trying to get some rich people who are looking for the next cryptocurrency or the next investment thing. It's been going on since before cryptocurrency, but that's a relatable topic, right? That works for you guys? You understand what I'm saying? They're trying to buy up something that isn't worth a lot to make it look like it's worth a lot. And I think it's important that we don't allow this to happen in the hobby, or any hobby for that matter. This is not a rich guy's playground, and it's just funny to me to watch it all go to shit for these people because they had it coming. Anybody who got involved in trying to make a ton of money with video games or collectibles, and you treated it like cryptocurrency where you just rode that wave a little too hard, and now you have nothing to show for it, that's how it goes. And as for you investors who wanted to get into the sealed game market and were paying like $5,000 for sealed games that weren't worth more than $300 a few years before, my condolences to you, even though it doesn't matter because you probably have so much money, you don't care. But that's what happens, and that's why I'm really glad this all came to light, because the hobby deserves better, and Mario 64, more importantly, deserves better. I mean, come on, man. Mario 64, what a game to have it happen. And the funny part is they could have gotten away with this, too, had they not, if it wasn't for you meddling kids, had they not fucking just rushed it. Had they just let that one game that originally sold for $100,000 marinate and then jumped up to another game for like $300,000, they really could have rode this scam out hard before anybody caught on. But they pushed it, they rushed it, and now they're dealing with the repercussions of it, and that's what they get. So fuck you. And thank you, Carl Jobst, for connecting all the dots. Shout out also to Pat the Nest Punk and Ian Pixel for their podcast that I've been following for the past 2 years now, where they've discussed this issue as it was bubbling up before it boiled over to where it's at. So it was kind of interesting, like I said, to see this little thing that I'm watching on a geek podcast, much like this one, obviously with a much bigger following, it was so interesting to see this little conversation piece that, you know, was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. You know, talking about it with my friends, like, dude, we don't care. Shut the fuck up. And all of a sudden it's like, it was national news for a few days in some outlets. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So again, that's what happens when rich people play games and fuck up everything for everybody else, but they don't mean to. It happens. So let's see what's next up here. Oh, speaking of rich people and things that don't matter, this is not what I want to hear. Oh man. NVIDIA and AMD GPU, as in graphic card prices, are set to skyrocket once again after a downward trend in GPU prices was showing only to be brought back up by the urge of people making NFTs and mining activity increased after drastically again. AMD and NVIDIA cards are up 74% and 70% in aftermarket value respectively. That's what I wrote. I forgot all about this. So that ties into the next story after this, which is kind of sad, but how it works is this is more or less a sign that the microchip shortage is not going to stop anytime soon. NVIDIA and AMD GPUs are not cheap to begin with. The current series, they're both of their top of the line lines. The AMD has the Radeon 6900 XT, which is $1,000, and there's actually another variation of it from an aftermarket company, I believe called the Toxic, that's 2600. Ooh, pardon me. Sorry about that, guys. And then after that, there's a video with a 3090, and that's a $1,500 card, but they sell variations out there for like $2,500 or more. And the aftermarket value on these things is unbelievable because scalpers are having a field day with these because it's the same reason you can't get a PS5 or an Xbox, and that is by buying these things up at MSRP and cornering the market and having all the property that is available in the market, much like diamonds, so to speak. Only these are actually worth something, not worthless, and just charging what they want. I think the $1,500 3090 card goes for around $3,000. The AMDs, the $1,000 cards go for around 25 to 2. It's kind of insane. I actually bought my 3090 a month after it came out because I tried being there for the September 24th drop and I couldn't get it. I tried my ass off. I was online from a cell phone, which was ignorant of me. I was online trying to buy a 3090 graphics card, and I couldn't the day of. I got beat out by scalpers. All of the internet was sold out by like 9:05 when it dropped at 9 a.m. I myself actually went through StockX, unfortunately, and had to deal with a scalper, and that cost me $2,200. And after it was all said and done with taxes and fees, it was $2,400. But I'm not that upset because you can't find a card now for $2,400 anywhere, and you couldn't find one then. I actually missed an opportunity to get one for $2,000, which was really sad. But the fact remains, I had to deal with a slimy ass fucking scalper, and I'll never do that again unless I 1000% have to. And it looks like for a PS5, I might have to. Because getting into the next story on this topic is Best Buy had the first ever in-person sales. This is what I wrote. Here we go. Best Buy had the first ever in-person sales of the PS5 and Xbox One S, X, or whatever the fuck it is, on Thursday. That's right. Thursday morning, they had a drop. So, of course, people were lined up outside of Best Buy's in the AM before. Some of them in the PM before, as I learned, because I actually got there to the Best Buy in West Patterson or Woodland Park in New Jersey. I got there at 1:30 a.m. 1:30 a.m. I stood online at Best Buy, and I didn't get anywhere near the building. I was just starting... I was near the building, but I was in the parking lot of the building, if that makes any sense. And I waited from 1:30 till about 6:30 in the morning, which was an hour sooner than the website had said. The website had confirmed that they had these, and that at, what's it called? At 7:30, people will be coming out to take inventory of what you wanted. They came out at 6:30, which was really cool of them. Shout out to Best Buy for that. But by the time they got to my part in the line, they were just telling people at this point, listen, maybe you'll get an Xbox One S. I really doubt it. But as far as PS5s, every person that we've asked in front of you that wants a PS5 has already spoken for all the PS5s we have available. So I'm terribly sorry. And I was sad. I didn't want to wait around to get an Xbox One S X if they might have had it because it just didn't seem worth it. I already have a gaming PC. I'm not trying to do the whole scalper thing. I thought about it, but I realized I can't do it. I even said I might just stick around and get that. But I decided I opted against it. Keep the karma good. I left at 6:30. I went home. You know, I documented the fun little time on my TikTok. It was all fun and games when I thought I might be getting it, but this is no joke. And I really tried my best to get there as soon as I could, and I wish I got there sooner. But I had to film some stuff for the promo for the Total Terrathon Thursday that I was doing. So that was a no-go altogether. But it was just kind of sad that, like, this might be the last in-store drop for quite some time. Best Buy hasn't had an in-store drop in a long time. I can't even tell you the last time I saw an in-store drop that people were lined up for. I know they did it for the GPUs recently, the NVIDIA 3080s and all that stuff, but it was unbelievable. I was just blown away how fucked I was at 1:30 in the morning getting online. I mean, it was crystal clear there were people there in the line in front of me from like probably when the store closed at 9 or 10, as soon as they could stand up out there. You know, the county sheriff was rolling through, making sure everybody was behaving themselves, not that anybody acted up. So much weed was being smoked, by the way. I live in New Jersey, and they just legalized weed like last year. So much weed was being smoked. It's unbelievable. Like, just unbelievable. People were passing around blunts. I was hitting my pen. It was just a good time. It was a good time. I met some fellow PC gamers. I had guys next to me who also had 3000 series graphics cards like me, and we had a good time chatting. It was a great time for a bunch of guys who were geeky to get together and talk. I think they were there with their girlfriends, which says a lot about me because I was there with my umbrella as it started raining a little bit. But again, oh well. I'm trying not to pay a scalper. I really, really prefer not to pay a scalper, but I'm just losing out against these bots and these fucking drops. I don't know what to do, man. It's stressing me out. I can't really put into words how much I want a PS5. So if you have any information on a PS5 drop that's actually realistic or anything like that, please let me know. Or if you know a guy who only wants like $100 over MSRP, please let me know. I'll pay it in cash. We don't have to go on eBay. We can do something else. Yeah, that's that. So let's see what else is going on. Oh, all right, here's some more interesting news. Blizzard, I don't know how many of you have been following this story, but I'll recap really quickly. Blizzard Entertainment, the people who make Diablo and games like that, yeah, they make Diablo and Warcraft, right? I don't know, I don't really play the bro games, but they make those games. Blizzard recently came under fire after a whole bunch of lawsuits came out that all the female employees at Blizzard have been reporting that it's basically like a frat house in there, and guys were really doing some crazy shit. Guys were like climbing under the desks to look up girls' skirts and shit like that. It was fucked up. It was really fucked up, and a lot of people are getting fired. And I believe the CEO stepped down, and the current CEO has stepped up, and he said he's willing to cooperate with law enforcement and do whatever he has to do to make sure that this investigation goes through the way it was. But I mean, it's just terrible that people had to be subjected to that. I mean, a lot of hazing and stuff like that, mostly from female employees, and lawsuits, allegating this, and stories that line up together, and people who are never in departments working together having the same stories about certain individuals. It was really fucking messy, and it's about to get a lot fucking messy. And I gotta tell you what, I don't really mind, because no disrespect to anybody who likes Blizzard games or plays Blizzard games, but Blizzard games epitomize the stereotype everybody thinks about when they think about PC gamers. And I know some of you might not care about that, but it's just a stereotype thing, like Diablo, Warcraft, StarCraft, etc. All those games that just really make people kind of cringe when they think about them, and I don't know why. But the fan base of it is also a certain genre and niche, which, again, I say lightly because I have some very nice people who helped me out when I was doing a music career that play a lot of Blizzard games. But even they understand, there's a whole bunch of bad apples in the group sometimes. It happens. But anyway, moving onward, I love Blizzard players. You guys are great, but some of you are fucking monster drinking Kyles, and that's coming from a guy who drinks Monster cans 3 times a day. So, Blizzard is royally fucked. That's what I wrote, and thank God. The Securities and Exchange Commission is now looking into investigating them for the discrimination and harassment lawsuit, furthering this shit can of a company being driven into the ground. More or less what has happened is that the Securities and Exchange Commission is now looking into investigating them, which is just another federal bureau to have on your ass in the midst of 9 million lawsuits. For them to be the one in the 9 million and one lawsuit is just the icing on the cake that a lot of these fucks deserve. And I'm really happy to hear that the people who are in charge now, the new CEOs and those in charge, have pretty much said that they are, While we continue to work in good faith with our regulators to address and fix workplace issues, we also continue to move ahead with our own initiatives to ensure the very best workplace possible. So, the new guy is helping authorities, but we all know the new guy was probably an old guy who probably knew about this when it was happening, and maybe he's just playing the, well, I couldn't do anything card, but, he could have reported, and maybe he was the one who reported. I don't know. But let's keep moving onward. Let's see. Oh, for the love of God. Oh, for the love of God, I can't wait to cover this one. Nintendo Direct. Excuse me one moment. what the fuck, Nintendo? Can you do, like, what the fuck is up with Nintendo lately? What the fuck is up with Nintendo lately? I don't even know where to start with them. They are just killing me. Excuse me. They are just killing me with this shit. Nintendo Direct was cool for the Kirby game. I'm not even gonna lie there. That seems really cool. The Mario Party announcement was pretty cool. But what the fuck is announcing a Super Mario movie? Who asked for that? Did anybody ask for that? Did anybody ask for Chris Pratt as fucking Mario? What? Yo, the best meme I saw this week was a picture of the old Mario movie. John Leguizamo, and oh man, the guy who played Mario, his name escapes me. Fuck. The guy who played Mario, fucking just standing there, and the caption says, "Apologize to this movie right now." And I apologize. I saw that movie at a drive-in. I saw that movie in theaters. It came out 2 weeks before Jurassic Park, so its fate was pretty much fucked. As the much better dinosaur movie did come out shortly after. Yeah, I don't know. The Kirby game looks great, though. The Kirby game really looks fun. It looks like it runs on the Mario Odyssey engine, which is not bad, because that's a pretty cool engine. And speaking of shit, what the fuck, Nintendo? Where's some good DLC for that shit? We need some Mario Odyssey DLC. I'll go on anyway. Nintendo Direct, it was a little lackluster. And again, the Mario movie. It's a Mario movie that's going to be 3D, which is fine. But, like, what does it matter? Like, who needs a Mario movie? Like, now is not the time to make a Mario movie, Nintendo. Nobody likes you. Nobody likes you at all. Whatsoever. It's just a bad time to be a Nintendo fan. They announced that the new Smash Brothers, the final DLC character, will be announced this October, which is cool, because maybe it's time for a new Smash Brothers game. Maybe it's time for a new system that actually fucking does something. But I guess I should explain my frustration with Nintendo. When Nintendo came out with the Switch, I bought one for my girlfriend at the time for her birthday, because it was in March, and I have no problem with that. I let her have it when we broke up. Obviously, I bought it for her. I'm not going to keep it. It's hers. And ever since then, I've been waiting for a reason to buy a Nintendo Switch, and I can't fucking find one. I wanted to get, we already had, what do we think? In 2019 is when I gave it back to her. So that was pretty much, all the games that mattered at the time had already come out. Where's Breath of the Wild 2? Can I get some sort of information on Breath of the Wild 2, Nintendo? Anything? Just an update? Like, is this Mario game gonna fuck us up? Like, Mario movie? I don't even know. Nintendo's so confused and annoyed right now. It's unbelievable. The other thing from Nintendo Direct that was pretty cool was the N64 and Mario game, and Sega Genesis games coming to Nintendo Switch Online or whatever it is in the Nintendo Store. That's a really cool one to see happen. I'm glad they're doing that. They're also releasing, what I saw was very cool, a Sega Genesis and a Nintendo 64 controller for the Switch, which is great. I think that's a cool little add-on and thing. But again, there was nothing major. There was nothing that made me go, holy shit, Nintendo, you're pulling it back together. Nintendo is just out of its mind, fucking insane. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who they're trying to appease, but they're most certainly missing the mark a little more than usual. This whole underpowered hardware thing is not playing out for them long term. If they're going to have underpowered systems with great games, that's one thing, but they're almost pulling the opposite of the N64, which is an underpowered system with not so great games versus an overpowered system with not so great games that the N64 was. And I think it's really interesting that they just can't seem to get it together right now to save their lives, and that's just how it goes. I mean, I want to be really upset, but I can't be that upset because, again, it just means I don't buy a Switch. But I can't buy a Switch because I don't want one. I can't buy a PS5 because I can't get one. It's fucking aggravating right now. Let me tell you, thank God I got a PC to do something with this shit. Let's see what else we got. Oh, shit. IGN, yes. Infamous IGN turns 25 this year. 25 years old. I remember IGN when it was SegaSages.com, and we would go there for cheat codes, and we would go there to get strategy guides that would link us to Game Facts. I know you guys remember that. That's an old one from my 90s babies right there. Game Facts. It would link us to Sega Sages, and we would go there and we would get our cheat codes for our current gen systems, which were mostly PlayStation 1 at the time, because this is when the internet really was like in everybody's hands. It wasn't like 94, 95 where it was limited. By 96, 97, pretty much everybody had the internet in their house, and SegaSages.com was where we went. And we went there, and sometimes they had video game reviews, sometimes they didn't. It was a very, very, very early site. I can still remember my middle school years in the 90s being on that. I'm trying to think. IGN really, and then after it was Sega Sages, it was like, it turned into IGN. And I would go to SegaSages.com, and it wouldn't work. It would connect me to IGN, and I'd be like, what the fuck is IGN? And to be quite honest, I still forget what IGN stands for all these years later. But if you wanted to go to, like, the N64 IGN, you had to go to n64.ign.com, and then it would take you to the N64 page, and you could read all the reviews, and you could see all the... It was an online magazine that didn't charge you anything. And it was really interesting because it started out as a free thing, and it still is a free thing. I mean, you know, you don't pay to use IGN, but I'm just looking at whatever. It's unbelievable to see how far it's really come with this. It's now like the mainstay of it. I mean, it's on TV. It's a major affair. So for 25 years, IGN did pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. They really, really, really did their best. Though recently, I noticed a lot of people just say that their reviews are paid, and that's how something usually goes when it gets too big to get paid. Too big to not get paid to write articles that can influence game sales. So I don't know how true all that is. I don't really read the reviews on IGN anymore, but I am a big fan of them. I use them to get a lot of news and up-to-date affairs for this podcast, obviously, as we all would if we were into this. They are a premier news source in video games. They really, really have become a staple and mainstay in helping video games become more than just something for kids. It was a reporting center. It was a hub. It was a headquarters for people to know and understand. When they saw it, it meant great things, you know, about what you want to know about video games. And I really, really am happy to hear that IGN lasted, and great for IGN. I one day hopefully will be in this game 25 years when I'm 60 some odd years old doing this podcast, but it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Actually, I'll be 50 something years old in 20 years. Let's take a look at what else we got. All right. So that's all of our video game news. We had the NVIDIA AMD GPU prices. Mario 64 similar sold for almost less than half of what the other one did. IGN turns 25 this year. Best Buy had a PS5 and Xbox that I tried to get that I did not get. Blizzard is royally fucked, more so than before, and no one's upset. And that's that. Let's take a look. More Venom 2 news and comic book news. Yes, comic book news time, folks. Let me take a sip. My beverage here. So, more Venom 2 news. I know we're all excited about this because Venom 2 comes out less than a week after this podcast will be aired. Should be this coming Friday of the podcast. Venom 2 looks as if She-Venom and Shriek are teased in the latest and final round of posters, which is a really, really cool thing because comic book movies in the recent years have become pretty good, assuming the actors don't spoil it, at keeping a lot of secrets, and a lot of big secrets too. Deadpool 2 hiding Juggernaut is a great example of Marvel movies really hiding secrets in a way that makes it so that way when you find out about them, when you go see it, you're blown away. And it really goes to show you how tight-lipped things can be when people want to be tight-lipped about things. And I think it's great that we have Shriek in this. We're going to have She-Venom again. We're going to have Venom. We're going to have Carnage. And we're going to have an ending scene that's supposedly bomb. I'm really excited about this. Sony has been doing a great job with this. I know they had to have a rocky start without Spider-Man, but they've been doing a great job overall with this whole Venomverse thing. And I'm really excited to see when Tom Holland comes into it. And I'm really excited to see how they pull Shriek in with everything, because she is, isn't Shriek? Let me double check something real quick. I'm having a moment here. I think Shriek is, Shriek Marvel. Yes, Shriek is actually Carnage's ally. Okay, so I'm interested to see how that's going to work, because that's the sign of, remember, Carnage and Shriek meet up, and that starts the formation of the Maximum Carnage line. So let's really cross our fingers again that we're getting a Maximum Carnage movie line out of this, because this whole thing I've had to adjust with movies that's really interesting that I really want to make a YouTube thing on is, movies are starting to understand that they're definitely going to get funded for sequels, because people are huge fans of whatever it is that they're making a movie out of. And this is a great example of what they might be doing to build towards the next future, because that end scene fight that we saw in, what was it, the trailer for Venom versus Carnage in this, it's clearly a scene from Maximum Carnage, and Shriek has to have something to do with this, and I cannot wait to see what it is, and how she, you know, helps Carnage get out of there and all that crazy shit, because she's got to be somehow connected to a bigger storyline that takes place in the third movie. And again, that's what I'm talking about. These movies that build towards others' movies and leave us on cliffhangers purposely are the greatest double-edged sword that I've ever seen in cinema, because it's like, yes, we're getting the sequel. Fuck, it's going to be forever. Like, forever. And that's just how it goes. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's cool that some movies are structured like that. I wish they would tell a little bit more of the story in some movies, like a certain Mortal Kombat, on how to fix that. But it's just how it goes, and I'm not upset. I'm excited for Venom. I cannot wait. It's going to be an awesome October for movies. And the Evil Dead movie comes out after that. I'm so excited. But yeah, Venom 2 comes out soon. All this new information is awesome, and I can't wait to review it on the channel, so make sure you're here. Yes. Oh, wow, that's right. All right. Other comic book movie news. The new Batman trailer is out. Yes, the new Batman trailer is out. It seems that the Batmobile looks very cyberpunkish, and the Riddler is in this, which is really awesome. Is a great methodical villain to introduce into the series, and with this whole dystopian Gotham affair going on. Why is Gotham always dystopian? Bruce Wayne could fix it all, but I guess that's socialism. That whole dystopian affair is actually kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of cool, because Batman totally fits into that motif if he wants to. Batman's been in a lot of things in the comics. I know that for a fact. I haven't read a lot of the comics, but I know he's been in a lot of places. Probably even been in space and fought the Joker or something. But Riddler being in this makes the whole movie look fantastic. The whole steampunk cyberpunk affair of his glasses. Pardon me. Fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic. Gotta remember that. 27 minutes in, I gotta edit out a burp. Remind me of that, folks. It just looks great. I can't wait to see what they do. Most importantly, the thing you've all been wondering about, Robert Pattinson as Batman, believable. Actually believable. I'm not gonna lie, there hasn't been any bad Batman castings. Ben Affleck was an interesting one for sure, but I just couldn't get into him 1000% because he's Ben Affleck. I'm sorry, Ben, I love you. Your movies are great. I'm from New Jersey, so Mallrats, all that stuff means a lot to me. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. Robert Pattinson, definitely a believable Batman. A little on the scrawny side, but I guess if they buff him up a little bit, it'll work out. Let me see what else. Did I read anything else interesting about this? New Batman trailer. Gotta watch that. Batman. Well, all I know is that I wrote that it seems like they're going onward with the DC trademark darker tone for the series, but when are they not? But it seems to work for it. Honestly, we don't have a whole lot to go off of, so we'll take what we have about the Batman and put high hopes in it, shall we? Oh, my dog's barking. Oh, Marvel Studios is about to fight for the rights to retain Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the Avengers. This is an interesting one. Apparently, after a certain amount of time, the creators of a certain... Pardon me. So anyway, it appears that Marvel Studios has to fight for the rights back for Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the Avengers, because apparently there's some sort of copyright clause written where the artwork can revert back to the original owner somehow, some way, after 50 years or something like that. And the people who are the heirs to the people who wrote these characters, if they're dead or if the people are still alive, they're trying to get money from Marvel and buy the rights to the characters back. But the problem is they're apparently way too late to be filing this lawsuit. No one ever filed it when it was possible, and no one knew about it, that you could file for the rights to the characters back. And apparently, Disney and Marvel never lose any lawsuits in a courtroom. It's impossible. It's fucking impossible. They got them to take Spider-Man off of a kid's headstone, okay? Fuck out of here. They're not losing. What else do we have? Sorry, my dog is barking in the background. What else do we have? Shh. Yeah, so apparently they're going to have to fight to retain the rights to Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the Avengers. And I really can't believe that Marvel would have to do that at this point. But I can't believe someone would try to sue Marvel and Sony at this point, or whoever, knowing that there's no goddamn way that they're ever going to win against the likelihood of this. It's unbelievable. And it's definitely not happening. And these people are way too late. There's nothing wrong with getting what's yours, but it's crystal clear this is a money grab by people who got some delayed information and are really hoping for the best, but are going to get sued in return by people they could never repay. And that's just how it goes. So let's see what else we got. Oh, I missed some, I thought this was video game news. I missed this. Let's get back to video game news real quick. I don't know why this is a comic book movie news, but accidents happen, folks. That's why I'm glad this is a goddamn podcast. Hidden Palace, a website known for its video game preservation, especially of the prototype and unreleased nature, announced 349 Xbox prototypes from back in the day had been uploaded, including the He-Man Castle Grayskull game. And it is a really pivotal moment for game preservation, as Xbox, the original one, was a newcomer at the time, and a lot of companies saw the stronghold PS2 had on the gaming world play at the time, and may have backed out of Xbox projects. So, that's why it's important to make sure that you preserve games. In addition to that, 135 Dreamcast prototypes were found. That's right, 135 Dreamcast prototypes were found, which is kind of interesting, because not too long ago, that Castlevania prototype resurfaced, and I wonder if those prototypes were I wonder if that came from a bigger leak of prototypes that is what they have now on this website. But it's kind of crazy to know that Xbox has 349 prototypes, one of which was actually, like I said, a He-Man game, which I would have loved to have seen, but it's playable, and you can play it at hiddenpalace.com with an emulator and all the good stuff that you need to do it. You can most certainly find out how to do that type of stuff on YouTube. I do a lot of emulation myself, and I've been doing it since the 90s. It's really easy. So if you're an Xbox fan or you're a Dreamcast fan, like I'm a huge Dreamcast fan, I got to check out some of these prototypes and see what's going on. Maybe I'll stream it, maybe I won't. I think it's really important that this happens, because game preservation, to me, is one of the most important things that you can do, because as data rot is a fair, and for those of you who don't know what data rot is when, for example, let's say you have an old Super Nintendo game, right? And you go to play it, and it won't play, and you open it up, and you find out that it looks pretty much fine, but after doing some resistor testing, you find out that the connections are no good. Data rot is real. Data rot is when when hardware, as in disks, loses its ability to maintain the ability to function via just being old and rotting away. Transistors wear away, caps melt, etc., etc. Those games with watch batteries in them for save features, like, Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasies in the cartridge form, those sometimes melt and disintegrate everything inside. It's really, really important to understand that emulation of old games as a preservation is just as important as playing them. You can go online and you can emulate on the Nintendo Switch, like we talked about, their newest features, the newest N64 games from back in the day. And that's really important that Nintendo plays a part in it, but it's a part that they can't play all the way. And this is what Hidden Palace is great for, because again, video game preservation for prototypes is a little bit more important than video game preservation for a Super Mario World, because there's 1,000,001 of those out there. Prototypes were never put onto a disc. They are strictly in digital format, if you think about it. You can put it onto a disc, but most of them are in digital format and cannot be put onto a cartridge, except for the old prototypes from back in the day, which of course were on cartridges for the cartridge-based systems up to N64. I think it's a matter of time before people really start unloading a whole bunch more prototypes, because we've seen a lot of cool prototypes recently. We saw that Spider-Man 3 prototype, or Spider-Man 4 prototype for the movie game that never came out, the original series of Spider-Man. I'm talking about Sam Raimi's series in the 2000s. There was a Spider-Man 4 game that came out that didn't even have a goddamn Spider-Man 4 movie yet, just so that way they had a prototype, and it was released. And I think it's really cool, because again, it's interesting to see what could have been, even though it never was. And it's even more interesting that there's a place to go for that and make life easy. So again, sorry about that delayed video game news, but that's a really big one that I couldn't tuck away, because not everybody gets to cover stuff like that, and I'm really happy that I found that article. So again, guys, thanks again. Let's check what else we got. New Batman, more Venom 2 news, Marvel Studios. Oh, that's right. Disney announces, this is going to be interesting, speaking of Marvel and all comic book movie news, because that's what we're talking about. Disney announces an exciting Disney Plus event coming this November 12th, and they will having an anniversary celebration of their first year launch, or whatever year launch this is, of Disney Plus. They announced more specifically, and note with this podcast, they would have a special celebrating the Marvel Capcom universe with an exciting look towards the future. I want to let you know, I'm going to sit up here. An exciting look towards the future from Disney talking about Marvel is never disappointing. Even if the movies aren't what you want to see, because Phase 4 was cool, but it was nothing like, Phase 2 and 3. Phase 5, if that's what they're talking about here, or Phase 6, whatever phase they're on, is going to be unbelievable. A lot of movies are coming out that are about to open up a lot of doors. No pun intended. The Spider-Man movie, especially with him jumping through the universe. The Master of the Ten Rings movie really explained a lot of cool stuff. I can't find a way to put into words how exciting this is going to be. When Disney says it's time to announce something about Marvel, we all listen, because 9 times out of 10, and really it's more like 9.5 times out of 10, it's always a home run. For all the geniusness behind Disney and Marvel, they got it so right, especially with the Star Wars series too. Disney is just so on fucking point, it hurts. It hurts to the point where DC doesn't even know what to do, and we've accepted that DC doesn't know what to do, and we're like, man, it's still pretty good. It's not Marvel, man, it's still pretty good for superhero movies. I mean, come on, man. I just got done geeking out over the Batman movie. I can't sit here and say DC does nothing, but they don't do anything near what Marvel does. And they try, and they put out some solid stuff, but nowhere near Marvel. Let's see what else we got. Oh, I'm late to this one. This one I want to bring up. The new Matrix trailer looks amazing. I never could get into the Matrix too much. After the first movie, I just didn't get into it. It's not that I wasn't into it. I actually loved the first Matrix. I seriously loved it. I just never got into the series after that, and really wish I did, because it looks like this new movie is actually going to be a continuation of the series, of course, but really next level shit. Like, all the technology that's out now for being able to make the Matrix is insane. I mean, they're definitely going to push the boundaries. They're definitely going to go new places. And I don't know if it has the same digital team on it as the first one. But again, let's just think about how far we've come from 1999 to now. Over 22 years of AV technology just flying out the window to the point where I can do something like this from my house in one room. Like, I do this whole channel from my house in one room by myself with very, very nice equipment, but nowhere near Hollywood production movie equipment. So just keep that in mind, that it's going to be insane. We're going to see bullet stopping. We're going to see everything and anything that we deserve to see with Neo in this. I really hope, we get... I'm trying to think who else. We're going to probably get Trinity in this, as we saw. I just can't wait to see all the new features and abilities, and if there's going to be a new one. Maybe there could be a second one. I don't know. I've never seen the second 2 or 3, so maybe there was a second one besides Neo, and I never saw it. But one way or another, I'll be checking it out. All right, what else do we got here? Yes, horror movie news. Lost Boys remake is set to be done and filmed, and I don't think that's one that needs to be redone. The Lost Boys was a very, very unique horror film, for those of you who don't know. It was a horror film about vampires, but not in the sense of vampires like Dracula or Nosferatu. It was about rebellious, eternally teenage-minded vampires who just did whatever they wanted. They could fly, they could do whatever they want, and the main character of that was just so iconic, and the whole series just doesn't need to be redone. I believe that the idea of a Lost Boys remake, again, doesn't need to happen. That was an iconic classic. It was very period perfect. It doesn't mean it won't be a good movie, but even I'm kind of like, all right, there's just some movies that don't need to be redone. And at the top of that list, even though I would like to see it redone in a great way, is Jaws. You don't need to redo Jaws. That's one of my favorite horror movies ever. But you definitely don't need to do Lost Boys. I'm sorry, there's no need for it. Absolutely not. Not a single reason to ever rock with Lost Boys on a remake, in my opinion. And that's just how I feel about it. So hopefully it's good. It just doesn't need to happen. What else do we got? Oh, all right, cool. Final Halloween trailer is out. That's right, the final Halloween trailer is out. And I'm so excited for this because it shows exactly what I emphasized in the last podcast, being more emphasized now than ever. The final trailer shows how the town is coming together, just like in the original second Halloween film, to kill Michael Myers once and for all. And it shows everybody banding together, right down to the kids Laurie Strode babysat the night of. And I think it's going to be great. The way that they have Laurie Strode and everybody in the town banding together to finally believe that there's a boogeyman. And the one scene where the kids are on the swing set and the woman comes up to them and asks them if they've seen anything funny or something. And they go, yeah, this guy in a white mask over there has been playing hide and seek with us. It's like, what? That's creepy as fuck. And Michael finally going back to his house and finding the new residents there, because for once the movie doesn't have the house abandoned. The movie actually has people in the house because, it's been 45 years, so the house had to be rebuilt, and, after being condemned, because in the, first, what was it? Yeah, in the first two films, which this movie follows, Michael's house was abandoned forever. Remember, it was an empty house, and they had nothing really to do with it. Now, it's all these years later, someone had to have bought it, renovated it, gentrified it, and sold it to someone at a ridiculous price after they paid nothing for it, because that's how housing markets work. That's a horror movie in and of itself. So, it seems that Michael is really going to have his work cut out for him as he goes one-on-one against all of the town. And we start seeing Laurie Strode saying Michael Myers isn't a human. He's pure evil, and that's why he couldn't die, which sounds like Dr. Loomis to me. So, we have... I'm trying to think here. Yeah, we have a solid 30 people trying to kill Michael Myers, and Michael Myers probably taking out more than half of them. Laurie Strode says she wants to take the mask off Michael, which will be cool. It's interesting to see the Season of the Witch tie-ins, little jokes. We're not getting a big tie-in like I wanted. That was my call, but I don't think that's happening. But let's remember, while this is the second movie, there's supposed to be a third movie in the series called Halloween Ends. And whether or not that still happens is highly likely, to be quite honest with you. I'm just interested to see how they're going to take this trilogy and make it work. Because trilogies are the new way to roll for horror movies. That's why even It is getting a third chapter, in my opinion. That people are just well, people still like it, but we can't do past the third movie, because after the third movie, it's pretty fucking hard to keep the audience entertained. What more can you add to the lore? And Michael Myers, even for a guy who has infinite lore, can't really be added to after, they kill him, for the third movie in a row. So it's interesting to see all of that happen, and where they're going to go with it, and more importantly... how the trailer is going to pan out into the movie. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart here. Let's see what else is going on. Oh yes, finally. And I can't wait for this. This is the last piece of news I got before we go into October's affairs and what we're going to do on the channel and my Twitch. We got some stuff to cover there. After a long wait, and I mean a long wait, a long time. How long? Well, I swear to God, these kids are going to be getting their first DUI and rehab stints as broken child stores before they release Stranger Things Season 4. But I was wrong, because neither one of them have gotten that, and it's pretty much done filming to my understanding. I saw what you saw in the trailer. We have number 3, who has been found to number 11, so to speak. His name is Victor Creel. Apparently, it showed the newspaper clipping articles of the 50s of a raging demon in that town. What was it? Oh, man, I can't remember the fucking town. Oh, man, I can't remember it at all. No, Hawkins. That's right, Hawkins. I'm sorry, Hawkins. It's Hawkins. It shows newspaper clippings from the 1950s, which is before the 1980s incident, about demons that tried to ravage the town and strange sightings and electrical outages from back in the 1950s. So apparently, these projects have been 3 generations long now, and it appears that Victor Creel, being number 3, is from the first generation. But more importantly, Victor Creel is played by Robert Englund. Englund? I can't remember. Robert Englund of Freddy Krueger fame. That's right, the guy who plays Freddy Krueger is playing number 3 in Stranger Things, and I can't wait. It looks like he will probably have psychic abilities. He'll probably have the ability to make things happen, and maybe he's more powerful than 11, maybe he's just as powerful as 11, maybe 11's an exemplified example, who knows. But what I think is going to be really cool is the powers that we see the other kids have when we find the other numbers out there. But in the meantime, let's talk about how the kids look in this. I'm not going to lie, they did a pretty good job of keeping the kids looking their age. Makeup definitely helped out. But watching the kid with the flat top kid and play haircut fucking murdered me. I almost died of laughter. And when you see that backpack hit the floor and you see it has the Ghostbusters tag on it, you know what's going on. But for the most part, the kids don't really look like they age that much. They seem pretty much as I remember, even though in real life they look much, much older. I don't know what they're doing, but those makeup artists on that show are fucking great, and I need to hire them personally to before I walk out the door every day, because I'm in my 30s now, and I ain't liking sunlight so much. I'm gonna be like, can you make me look like 17? Can you do that for me? Is that possible, please? So, yeah, that's that. That's the podcast for this week. I don't have a very long podcast. I know, you're used to podcasts going for a while. It's more of a video game horror news podcast type of thing. I don't know. Either way, I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you like and subscribe. What I wanted to go over with you is that, yes, October is pretty much here. And on this channel and my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ilsun4k, you can actually win prizes this October with me. I'm working with a company that you can see here that makes this shirt. They let you select 10 of your own. I'm just making sure it gets in the frame. They let you select 10 of your own horror movies and put it on in any way, shape, or form that you want, any order that you want, and they let you have a little quote at the bottom. Mine says, Ilsun4K has terrible taste in horror movies. You'll be able to win this, and I'll personally buy you a shirt when you win the contest. If you win, good luck to all who enter. And you can tell the guy whatever movies you want, they'll ship it out to you. I'm looking to give away movie tickets this Halloween because there's some scary movies coming out, such as, Halloween Kills. Don't forget, I've got a really, really, really cool thing. I'm waiting to get the final word on how we're making it happen. But I'm going to be giving away a really cool type of limited edition piece of Halloween 3 memorabilia. That's going to be really cool. Again, I got some cool things coming, so make sure you follow me on twitch.tv/ilsun4k and like and subscribe to this channel because I have big plans to really have a lot of fun this October and do some horror movie reviews. I've got 4 horror movie reviews that I'm going to do, releasing once a week if it all pans out. Plus, I'm going to be reviewing movies that come out such as Venom and Halloween Kills. It's going to be a really busy month in October, and I want my viewers to feel like, they're getting some Halloween fun. So make sure you like and subscribe and follow me, like I said, on twitch.tv/ilsun4k so that we can get you into some really cool prizes and we can make you eligible since I'm a Twitch affiliate now and I give back to my viewers. So make sure you're there, twitch.tv/ilsun4k, 9 p.m., and I'll make sure to see you guys soon. Take care. It's Ilsun4k.